My job is just to set the scene. I've got 25 minutes to show you what the conflict zones are across South Africa, where we're going, what we're doing. Bit of a background, we've been in this for 20 years, very much working for water. We go back to the days of the RDP, Restoration and Development Programs, back in '94. It is the only RDP, Poverty Relief Program, which still exists. And we employ 20,000 people across the country to, in actual fact, remove invasives. And in this particular area, Chrysophis is a very big deal. It is a joint partnership with the EPWP, and we realized, certainly the leaders, the government leaders, realized very late in the 1990s that they had to get private sector on board. And they set up partnerships, horticultural partnership, forestry partnership, and I come from the horticultural partnership. The pet trade partnership is quite a hostile one. The guys are not too crazy about what's going on in the government when it comes to invasive reptiles, so we struggle with that one. It is an extraordinarily large, very, very highly funded operation. The government is passionate about it. We have national resources management programs. We have the EPP on the other side, and you will see names there that you know, working for water, working for wetlands. They're all divided up. And these are where 22,000, 25,000 people, depending on the budgets each year, are employed across the country to deal with the situation. Mornay and myself date a couple of decades back when the government came to the private sector and said, my gosh, the scientists say we must cut down all the jacarandas in Pretoria and Joburg, but the public are quite angry about the whole thing. Do you think we could do some sort of stakeholder engagement here? And we started in the conflict zones of stakeholder engagement. There's been give and take on both sides with government right the way along. As you know, the jacarandas of Joburg and Pretoria were not cut down. Jacarandas are now exempt in all urban areas. So there's been a huge amount of give and take along the way. And when we go on conflict zones, jacarandas was the conflict zone 20 years ago. Now the conflict zone is dragon fruit. And dragon fruit is particularly important in this particular area. We have a situation whereby one of the species of dragon fruit that's on the list is a category 2. And dealing with category 2 in the private sector is very, very difficult. But there is also a second dragon fruit, which in actual fact has got a red center, which is a different species, which is just as invasive as the first dragon fruit, but in actual fact it's not actually on the list yet. And it will get on the list. It's going on the list. It will be on the list in the long term. But nevertheless, we have to deal with that side of the operation. We also are realizing very fast about the collapse of the media. I personally was in the media. I come from the magazine and the newspaper print media world. And certainly in Cape Town, we've had a lot of students that in actual fact are doing things like Patterson's Curse, which is moving its way up to the Northern Cape. And we have sent articles on Patterson's Curse right the way through to people in the media, the newspapers, and there's no space. These newspapers are too tiny. The radio is only talking about the tsunamis, Ukraine, what Cyril's doing this week, what's Cloudy did at the SABC. That's the kind of stuff that's appearing on our news. It certainly is not going to be how Patterson's Curse is affecting Cape Town at the moment, and that's also a problem. We have also another problem of rose-ring parakeets. Rose-ring parakeets are a category 2 species, and there's a lot of negotiation that goes on with the rose-ring parakeets. At the moment we're doing an advocacy campaign, very much building on the old material. Rose-ring parakeets are an invasive species in Australia, and we're looking at where they are here, what they're doing here, and there's some very good maps that show that in actual fact I see they're not actually in your area. They've got to Luring-Dorstad, but they're on their way. So you guys have got to look out for these particular birds in the Kimberley and the Uppington area. They are coming. We have a lot of issues with controlling them. We're worried with the feral populations. Like the rose-ring parakeet have an association. They are based in the Potchefstroom area. They have over 300 members, and these caged birds that are apricot and blue are sometimes selling for sort of 60,000, 70,000 rand for a pair. So we do realize that there's a hobby operation on the one side, and on the other side, of course, there's the issue that we do not wish, as South Africa, to have these huge flocks running around our neighborhoods. There you can see the flocks there. I must say, in terms of the media, we're having to do it our own way. We can't go through the newspapers and the radios. They're not interested in talking to us about rose-ring parakeets. So we are going on social media. And certainly Invasive Species South Africa and Cape Town Invasives have a great deal of information that's going out. And certainly we can reach 66 at the moment. I think it's 70,000 on that particular post we did for rose-ring parakeets. So that certainly is an operation there. We are also delving into the marine species, which is very new for us. We spent 20 years talking about plants. Now we're on marine. And in terms of the marine species, we're looking at the marine reserves around the country and looking at the alien and the invasive species. We look like we're going to be organizing a aquaculture industry pilot project. We will go and talk to the people in Saldanha Bay where there actually are farming marine species, and we are hoping that they will be early detection, rapid response type of warning. We will put, they've indicated that there are 6 invasive biofouling marine species that come in and duff up where they're actually doing the oysters, and they're farming the oysters, and they're farming all the mussels in the Saldanha Bay area, and they will look out for and watch for real invasive marine species as opposed to biofouling invasive species. Very new for us, and of course new for us to see. You know, we know about acacias, we know about tacomas, we know about the real bad cactuses and prosopis. This getting to know what these things look like is another whole story, and as you can see, some of them are fairly weird, and this is just a selection of some of the invasive species that we're dealing with in our marine situation on the frontiers there. In terms of the aquatic weeds, I'm personally involved in a very hectic conflict stakeholder engagement management in Rhodoplant Dam, just to the northwest of Pretoria. We have the South African rowing team, the Springbok team, who are furious that their rowing operation looks like this, or certainly did look like this about 4 months ago. My colleagues and sort of senior colleagues in DFFE, Debbie Muir, are dealing with a situation whereby we are slowly trying out to work how we deal with biocontrol, and we manage integrated management of biocontrol in the Rhodoplant area with herbicide spraying. You can't just, batter a system that's completely overrun with nutrients. The Tshwane municipality are producing 20% more sewage than they can process in their sewage works, and so you have these constant nutrients going into the dams, and when you have constant nutrients you have constant plants, and certainly we are working very closely with Rhodoplant at the moment to make sure that we've just done a big aerial spray now, thank you to Debbie and the general authorizations and risk assessments she put together for Department of Water Affairs and Sanitation, and we're working with these people, but there's some very angry people who've bought very expensive houses on the banks of a very large dam, and they are very angry, and so we have to deal with them. The green industries is pretty much a historical thing for us now. The negotiations for the green industries were very much 2000 to 2005, and we will be going and doing quite a bit of communications for the nursery industry this year. Become an eco-champ. We will be encouraging the Z generation to get out there and actually clear it. You can't just look at invasives and say, my gosh, where's the government? They really should have cleared this. In some cases, you have to actually get community operations and do it yourself. So we will be running campaigns on what's hiding in your garden, what's hiding in your pond, and we're basing our big campaign on the Canadian campaign. You'll be pleased to know the wolf is going, so they won't have any wolves in our marketing, but we will be encouraging eco guys to actually get out there and clear in their particular areas, and we're hoping that this will really impact on quite a few of the people in the communities to actually clear invasives themselves rather than waiting for government. Government can't do everything. This has to be a private-public partnership. These are the two icons that will be fronting the campaign. We've put them out for public consumption. Everybody loves the girl. Quite a few of the guys think the guy's a bit shifty. So we're not too sure how the guy is shifty. We're not too sure it's his eyes or his mouth. But the guy on the left is shifty, and we're still working on him. That's version 4, and we'll go on to version 5 quite shortly. The conflict of the nursery industry is still based in Morea exotica. The nursery industry grows a very small version of Morea paniculata, and that's a big thing that they're still worried about. And of course the cannas. Canna indica is Canna indica, and the entire nursery industry is behind Canna indica not being an invasive species, but they maintain the hybrids don't come from the Canna indica world. This will be the material that will go out on the nursery industry. We will be having pamphlets. All the biosecurity compliance guys will have material. We will be having what are the top 10 species in your particular town, and we will be working on promoting those. In terms of the advocacy campaign, and of course we're going to be talking a lot about cactus today. We've got some cactus experts here. We've got some biocontrol experts here. So I'm not going to say a great deal about this, but certainly the before and afters of cactus are a big deal. And it's a big deal because it is such a recurring invasive species. In the 1920s we had these massive invasions of prickly pear. The biocontrol was put in, it destroyed all the prickly pear, and of course now we've got the new prickly pear coming back. The torch cactus at this point in time has no biocontrol against it, which makes everybody in the sort of Rhodes University Centre for Biological Control very worried, and we are hoping that we will be able to get something in and start on the torch cactus. In the meantime, we have extraordinarily badly behaved, mostly Gauteng residents who go down to the coast in the holidays, and on their way back from the coast, they actually see the torch cactus in flower in these Karoo towns. They think it's absolutely fabulous. They cut it off, they take it back to Joburg, and we've now got infestations of this torch cactus across Gauteng, which is a huge problem. So we do need to get out that these, very exotically fantastic torch cactuses, which only really flower when there's rain. And I mean, the rain that you had around here is unbelievable. I've never seen Kimberley looking so green. I've never seen so much felt in my life in the Kimberley area. So, I mean, it really is good times for you guys. In terms of our working, we have been working with radio stations. We sent out a big campaign last year for 2 months to say, if you are a farmer, if you would like biocontrol, phone us and we'll give you biocontrol. Not everything works. It was the failure of the century. We sent out the press releases to 12 radio stations. We thought that they would be interested. Nothing. Nobody came back to us. Nobody put anything on the radio. They just haven't got time. The community radio stations are enormously stretched. Half of them have gone under, and we just can't rely on the ordinary media to give the invasive species a message. So we need conservancies. We need the public to actually say that this is not acceptable to have these particular species. These are the solutions: biocontrol, mechanical, herbicides. We will be going through them today, and please help. The information is now, we're in the digital era, the information is all there. We will be putting these on our websites in the next month. They've just gone through the system and had mostly clearance from the government side. These are the cactus particular areas. You're not interested in what's happening in KwaZulu-Natal or Cape Town, but you can download the one on the Northern Cape. And the one on the Northern Cape will tell you what the top 13 invasive cactuses are and how you identify them. We're also doing the same. This is we're getting to the north of the country, and the north of the country means the mammals are an issue. So in terms of the mammals, in terms of the snakes, we obviously have experts in both of those issues on our staff, and we're looking to see what they are and how they are. They can be identified on the websites, or you can download material and print it for your local churches, communities, or even if you see someone growing fountain grass or something like that on their pavement, take down a screenshot from the website, print it out in black and white, and put it through their post box. In terms of the Asian toad, this has caused a lot of trauma in the last year, although I don't think the numbers of these Asian toads are huge now. In terms of our promotions, we have changed the name. We cannot have Indian house crows and Asian toads. It's a bit politically incorrect to have a smear campaign when you've actually got a people group as part of the name of the invasive animal. So we are now talking about the black-spined toad, and of course the Australians, who don't seem to be worried about these kind of political things, still call it the Asian toad, but we're going to call it the black-spined toad in this country. We have a bit more panache on that stuff. There are the toads. We're going to, certainly this is very important for the Cape Town people. We need to show them what is a leopard toad, what's endemic, what toads should you be looking after in your area, and what toads are a problem. But this black spine toad is going to be a problem, and we do need you. You are the sort of Springbok team of invasive interested experts, and we are hoping that you certainly will be able to take this material back. In terms of the house crows are moving up the coast. We now have them at Walvis Bay, and they are moving on the ships, they're moving on the containers, they're moving on the trucks. So obviously in Cape Town we've had a big campaign, 10,000 birds. We're now down to about 300, so we're all good there, but certainly we've got to look out for these black house crows and make sure that you don't misidentify them as ordinary pied black and white crows, of which there are thousands in the Northern Cape. And of course the big issue. The big issue for the last 2 years has been the Shothole borer, particularly in areas where they are drought. The Joburg area is a big problem. We've lost half our trees, they tell us, are going to be gone. We were in Stellenbosch last month, and we had Francois Roets explaining to everybody in Stellenbosch that the Shothole borer is now 6 kilometers away from Stellenbosch. The Stellenbosch urban area is 80% exotic trees, filled with oaks. We have already been told by the arborists and the Shothole borer experts in Johannesburg there will be no English oaks in Johannesburg in 10 years' time. And obviously Stellenbosch is very worried about how the Shothole borer is going to devastate the English oaks that are iconic for the Stellenbosch village. And it'll be very interesting to see how we're doing that. There's a huge team of researchers that are working on this. This is just a few of them. This is what they look like. And they are working on what's happening at places like Vergeleken. Vergeleken has been able to put a lot of money behind the Shothole borer program. They put traps up, they've got experts there. Certainly, Shothole borer, you're going to hear a great deal more about it. Fortunately, it's been in California for 20 years, and because it's been in California for 20 years, we are able to liaise with our colleagues in the Californian universities there, and they have already created a management program, which we can now use for arborists and garden center operators and conservation people. How many holes in a tree? You plug up the trees with little brown sticks, cocktail sticks, and then you work out what's going on. And as you can see, we're now moving towards an era where it's not, catastrophe. It's okay. It's in this area. How do we manage it? And there's a lot of work going on in Uppington, where there's quite a lot of work going on in Uppington, where in actual fact Uppington High School has had a huge problem with their English oaks. And I certainly know that the team from FABI have been out to Uppington for a number of occasions. This is what we're going to be developing, and this is what will come out. This is the Californian matrix, but obviously we're looking at South African matrix, and the matrix will simply say, are the trees high investment? Are they low investment? So the top of the block is high investment, low investment. High investment would be a very Lani house in Johannesburg, in a big fancy, low density, high income suburb, and the tree probably takes up 20% of the front of the garden, and in actual fact it's very expensive. How you deal with that tree? Certainly I know situations in Johannesburg where they've put up to 50,000 rand into saving a tree and they still haven't saved it. So actually, in terms of the situation, there is no answer to Shothole borer. We haven't got it. And please be aware of various snake oil salesmen who are selling a range of products from blue triangles to sensors that are just going to sort of send radio waves through the air or the ground, or giving you liquids that you don't know entirely what they are, but in actual fact, be careful, they're not going to work, okay? We have seen the situation in the United States and Canada in terms of moving firewood and all of those kind of operations. This is the campaigns. We are dissuading people from moving firewood, and this will have a huge impact on the firewood market. Basically, the campaign will say use firewood in your area. Like they've done overseas, don't move firewood, and they've done it particularly overseas for the bugs. There's the emerald borer, and there's the emerald ash borer, and the Asian longhorn beetle. And the idea in California is that you don't move dead wood containing a whole bunch of insects that are bad for the environment that are going to invade in other areas. So that's basically the next trick there. And we'll be putting this. These are the drafts of our first attempt to try and put these sort of two-page printable information pamphlets down, and certainly this is the Shothole borer one, and this information will tell people how to manage Shothole borer on your own property, and how to report it on state property and what the state lines are.